Okay, so my name is Lisa Kelly. I am board president of Mental Health Awareness of Michiana. I'm also a mental health provider in the community. Mental Health Awareness of Michiana, or MHAM, is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to promote mental health education, encourage collaboration in the community, and work on improving access to care, to mental health care. So today we are delighted to have Marla Godette with us. Marla's a huge supporter of MHAM, and we really appreciate her doing this presentation today on cultural humility, moving from competence to responsiveness. So Marla earned her bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan, where she took on a trifold concentration and studied anthropology, sociology, and psychology. She went on to earn her master's degree in counseling from Central Michigan University. Marla is currently embracing her passions of working with and learning from people of all ethnicities, cultures, and backgrounds by pursuing her doctorate degree in global leadership through Indiana Tech in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Marla provides professional development and training to organizations. She is an adjunct professor, an international conference speaker and presenter, a certified life purpose coach, a certified global inclusivity leader, a keynote speaker, and has become a sought after implicit bias educator. Marla's purpose in life is to destroy the stigma associated with mental illness on a global level, especially in the community identifying as Black, African American, American descendants of slaves. So with that, Marla, we welcome you and we thank you for being here presenting on this important topic. And as I'm going to turn my video off, I'm also going to launch our pre-poll. So if you want to just kind of introduce yourself, if there's anything else that you want to say about yourself or the event today.
I'm good. I do want you all to please do the pre-test that is in progress. It's just a couple of questions, and it's very good for how we track our outcomes. I have been very specific in this to make sure that in the end that we reach the objectives for today. And we made them small. Not that we're small minds or small people, but this is a lot of information to take in. And sometimes you miss things. And, you know, I hope that you would go back to the YouTube channel later and look at it if you want to review maybe something you've missed. But please do the pre-test. Oh, I see you guys are almost done. Great. And do the post-test. Very, very important. Yes, go Warriors. Absolutely. Oh, that's Professor Doug. Absolutely. Professor Barcalow, thank you. So I want to start with, while you're finishing that, it looks like you guys are almost finished. We did a little fun thing well before we started with people who were on early. And I said, put in your favorite fruit. And you put in your favorite fruit, and you can see that so many people, yet there were very few duplicates because there's so much fruit. There's so many types, right? So many things. And we didn't start to duplicate until we got more and more people. So you think about humanity as a fruit salad, where these individual pieces plopped into this bowl, but we have our unique texture, our unique taste, our unique feel. We have all of this stuff that is unique and individual to us, yet we're a part of this massive bowl. Well, then I go and I see maybe another person like me. So there's a few of us, but I'm still connected to all of these other people. And this is how we are individually unique, yet our uniqueness makes us complete. And so I just want you to think about that when you're thinking about cultures and ethnic groups and different things. And it's like, oh, those people, these people. No, we're all the people. We're all the people in this big bowl that we call the globe, that we call the universe, however you label it. It's so much bigger than just the United States. And when we think about it that way, it helps to broaden our thought process. I also want to say that we are not here today to call anyone an ist. What's an ist? A racist, a sexist, an ageist, a careerist, an ist, all the names that people have been called in the last few years, especially. It just grows and grows and grows. No one's here to call you by any names. More than likely, you're not any of those things anyway. You may have some severe implicit biases or explicit biases that come out and make you perform a certain way, and therefore you perpetuate the isms, racism, sexism, blah, blah, blah. But you as an individual probably don't have the ability to control outcomes of another person on your own. So no is today, no name calling. So everybody breathe deep. Whew, I'm not going to get called names today. Not going to get picked on. That's not what we're here for. This is educational. And I'm going to tell you, this topic moves me every time I study and prepare for it, because it is so deep and rich with what we need to do. And what we need to do is, and write this down in your notes, know thyself and do no harm. And if you use that quote, you're going to have to quote me because I'm trademarking it. It's Godette 2019 is when I started with this: know thyself and do no harm. This came to me because I work with people, and me understanding myself and my implicit biases. This work started about 15 years ago within myself, and how I was horrified about stuff. And then this whole cultural competency, and then going into cultural humility. And oh my gosh, I don't have it right. And I knew that. And so when you take medical ethics and social work ethics and you put them together, you get a little bit of a combination of this phrase: know thyself and do no harm. You got to know about you. You. See, when you don't take time to know about you, you're just going to put out anything on me. You don't know yourself. And this is what humility does for us. It says, I don't really know, but I can learn. Okay. We're also going to cover some definitions today. We're going to cover some definitions and talk about, I'm keep getting people on my screen. I don't know why. It's a little distracting. I want you all to understand the fullness of the power of definitions. In society of recent, we have changed definitions and we've made them to be something that they're not, and that causes problems. So when people say culture, oftentimes people simultaneously say race. They're two different things. They're two different definitions. They don't mean the same. And I want you to start practicing that when I say cultural competency, cultural humility, that I'm just not talking about race. I could be speaking of the culture of poverty. I could be talking of, the culture of the Caribbean. I could be speaking on the culture of Christian religion. I could be speaking on the culture of Buddhism. I could be talking about so many different things. Now, breathe deep, because people, what, you call me wrong? Am I stupid? Am I dumb? I never knew this. Oh my gosh, I'm doing everything wrong. No, breathe deep, push it out. This is not what we're here for today. And these type of conversations, why do they cause those type of physical feelings, right? Because again, we don't want to be bad. We don't want to be wrong. We don't want to have done the wrong thing. Well, we've all done the wrong thing. What was our motive behind it? If we weren't doing it intentionally, I didn't intentionally fire overweight people, but I did. I didn't know my implicit biases were that of weight bias until I found out. But what happened is when I found out, I had to go into therapy. When I go into therapy, then I really found out some more stuff about me and some more stuff and some more stuff. And then now it was explicit, it was out front, and I could do something with it. Culture is not race and race is not culture. They are two different definitions, different meanings. They are not to be used simultaneously. Race, in fact, is a social construct created with Darwinism. Before that, we were human. Social constructs are typically created out of scarcity. Go do your research, find your history. When did these things come up? When did they happen? Ageism was created in 1964 when people over 50 were having trouble getting jobs. And it's like, oh, no, it's not enough for me. And so now something was created. And guess what? Now we have ageism that spans ages because we have young people saying, hey, nobody's giving me a job. I'm a Z, I'm a millennial, I'm being treated some kind of way. And so you got to understand social constructs. You can go look that up when you get home. But I want to give you this definition. Social construct is something that exists not in objective reality, but as a result of human interaction, how we come together. It exists because humans agree it exists. Well, what if we agreed that racism shouldn't exist and it just went away? What if we agreed that there's no sexism, we don't want that, and it goes away? What if we agreed that careerism wasn't real and it just went away and all positions were necessary and none was better than the other? It was just necessary. Whether I empty the trash can in the medical room or I provide the procedure for the other human in the medical room, isn't it all necessary? Because if that trash isn't emptied and there's bacteria and germs in that room, then the person getting the surgery could be sick, right? It is all necessary. For example, you can look at me and say, I'm Black or African American, and because of the skin color, you just gave me a race, and now you know my culture. Oh, she's this, and that. Well, you can't do that because you don't know me, right? In fact, you would be very, very wrong because you would make some assumptions based on what you think African American culture is, and you would be wrong. I was raised in an all white Republican, blue collar, very, very conservative, very strict, rigid religion. That's how I was raised. So you can't look at me and say anything about me. That probably wouldn't be a stereotype. Because I was raised a certain way. I have my own opinions and thoughts and ideas, but I was raised like that. So for many years, that's who I was. It took me to study me. I am becoming culturally competent about the Black community and history as I'm getting older. But the cultural humility is there for many. Don't get it twisted thinking that you know people. Some think that because they took a few competency exams and you got to get a B, right? And you check the box and HR says, okay, that now they got it and they can go talk to anybody. Have you thought about when you say, I want you to stand with me on these issues? Well, would it be competent to say that when you know that there's people with disabilities who can't stand and they're able differently? They can't stand with you. Oh, well, you know what I mean. It's like an emotional stance. Well, then say that, because they could be offended. Little things like that that let us know we're not really competent. How can you be if you're not immersed into someone's culture? Okay, so I want you to take 30 seconds, and write as quickly as you can 3 things about Native American culture. Culture. Quick, quick, quick. 3 things now. I want you to write 3 things about African American or Black culture. Culture. 3 things. You can put in the chat. You can write it on your own papers. You can, however you take notes. 3 things. Now I want you to write 3 things about women's culture. I'm stressing this word, culture. Yes, yes. Fill the chat. Do it on your paper. Come on, quick, 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 quick. Quick, quick. 3 things about abled differently culture. 3 things, 3 things. Three things, and all of you who are culturally competent, you should be doing this with ease. I mean, quickly, like this chat should be full, right? 3 things about wealthy culture, the culture of wealth. 3 things. Three things about the culture of white America. Quickly, quickly, quickly. All of the competent people who got a B or better. I'm messing with you. 3 things. And lastly, not lastly, but still 3 things about the LGBTQ or non-conforming community. 3 things that you know about that culture. Culture, culture, culture. Culture, culture, culture. So I'm going to tell you that based on what I've just glanced at in this chat as it pops up is, are we talking about culture here or stereotypes? Because what I see are a lot of stereotypes. Do we know what culture is? Definitions. We want to start talking about definitions. Because a stereotype is a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. It's a widely held, but it's fixed and it's oversimplified. How dare you look at me and say, oh, she's a Black woman, and just start spouting off some oversimplified idea of who I am? How dare I look at you and see a person and just start grouping them into a category? I don't know anything about you. And if you did not name something that is related to intellectual achievement, intellectual activity, literature, music, the humanities, the arts, painting, or philosophy. When I spoke of any of these people groups, you don't know culture. Breathe deep. Breathe deep. I know what I'm talking about. I'm just giving definitions, talking about truth here today. We're going to stop stereotyping and grouping people, or at least know when we're doing it. This is not easy stuff. Like I said, I had to go to therapy, and I still work with coaches and people, and raised my humility level so that I can now become aware, right? Aware and receptive to learn about others. Some cultures we have not learned properly about because they haven't been taught to us in history properly. So now it becomes up to us to go out as individuals and learn what we need to learn, and then teach our families, friends, neighborhoods, communities. That's how it spreads out. I'm going to share with you now real quick, guys. This, for some reason, is not letting me show my my full slideshow. I can't get this thing down, but anyway, we'll go this way. It's fine. Implicit bias, also known as implicit social cognition, refers to the attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. When you talk about implicit bias, and that's a whole nother training, and I believe it's up on YouTube in the MHAM site, you talk about, you just don't know how you're reacting because your body's really, your brain is really just trying to protect you from stuff. That's all. And the thing is that it's protecting us based on what it's been given. Well, if it's only been given negative images of certain people groups, that's how it's going to respond. If it's given more positive images of other people groups, that's how it's going to respond. So it's up to us to retrain our brains to not receive the constant negativity of certain groups, or the overemphasis of all things positive on another group. So that's implicit bias. You can't know thyself and do no harm if you don't know what those implicit biases are. And you definitely can't understand cultural humility if you don't know. So I beg you to start with self-exploration and working on that. So culture, the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. The arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. If you are culturally competent, you should be able to spit out some human intellectual achievement of people groups that we just did this little icebreaker activity on. So I want you to pay attention to the components to create culture, and I want you to write those down. The arts, the humanities, intellectual achievements, intellectual activity, literature, music, painting, philosophy. Those are things that create culture. And if you notice someone's race, how they look, that's not even there. But people groups, nations are there. It is a part of that definition. When you bring those components together. Because there are plenty of Black people that live in England. So are you talking about Black people, or are you talking about people who live in England? What are you really talking about? So components that create culture. Then competency. Like I said, with the HR stuff, you usually got to get 80% or more and, check the box and you are competent. Well, competence says it's having the necessary ability, knowledge, or skill to do something successfully. Based on our little activity, do you really have the skills to say that you're culturally competent in a multitude of cultures? You may be able to say I'm culturally competent in my own or in certain things that you've studied, but it would almost be arrogant to say I'm culturally competent, meaning you can span the globe and you can go anywhere. To be efficient and capable, acceptable and satisfactory, though not outstanding. Again, it would be a little bit arrogant to say, oh, I know those people. Well, as soon as you said those people, you grouped them. Humility, a modest or low view of one's own importance. Humbleness. Am I humble enough to say, I know about this, but I don't know all of these people. I don't know all of this certain people group. I don't know all of this nation or this region. I don't know. I don't know the human intellectual achievement of Black people. I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't know. And there's so much I don't know because I wasn't raised to know. So how was I culturally competent? Oh, I know what Black folks do. Do I? I might know some generalized things, but I can't put that on all people. And people of color live all over the world. So do I really know? You don't really know, right? Cultural humility versus cultural competency. Cultural competency implies that one can function with a thorough knowledge of the values and beliefs of another culture. Thorough knowledge now. Think about it. While cultural humility acknowledges that it is impossible to be adequately knowledgeable about cultures other than one's own. And I'm going to tell you, some people are not really knowledgeable about their own culture if they don't identify with it. And that's how you may have people grouped in certain cultures. So you have to be so deep of thinking about yourself. Know thyself and do no harm. Know thyself and do no harm. If you have not experienced the culture of poverty, how dare you say all they got to do is, you don't know what they have to do. If you have not experienced the culture of wealth, how dare you judge? Well, they should give their money away. They shouldn't do this and they shouldn't do that. You don't know that life. You don't know what the culture of wealth says in regards to their arts and their humanities, intellectual achievements, literature, where do they stand in those areas? Know thyself. What is in you that makes you think you know? We have to be mindful that there's so much to so many people. So you say, well, I make these opinions and I have these judgments and assumptions and this and that. Does that make me a racist, a sexist? Does that make me an isthmus, Marla? Know thyself and do no harm. The more you know about you, the less harm you will do to others. And as I said in the beginning, breathe deep and know that you're probably not. Let's look at definitions. Racism, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. Are you trying to go out of your way to hurt somebody or do something? Only you know that. Sexism, typically against women on the basis of sex, but we know men experience sexism, right? Ageism, originally against seniors. Now we know that even younger generations are saying they're experiencing ageism. So what you have to do is ask yourself, do your actions have the power to change the trajectory of another person's life? Is that person of another race or ethnic group, age, gender, sexual orientation, able differently? You only know this. Have I done things that would put me into these categories? Have I thought things? Have I acted out things? So how we can improve and become more culturally humble is to engage people who are different than you on a personal, experiential level. Look at your world. If you do not have people in your world that are different from you, you're living a very closed life. Your fruit salad is not full. You're an apple and you live with a bunch of apples. But if you throw a pear in there, you're going to get a little more flavor, a different texture. Some may rub off on you. You'll get to learn different things. What is it like to be a pear? I've been an apple my whole life. I don't know what it's like to be a pear. Tell me some of your experiences. Be curious and empathetic about others who are different and who have different experiences than you. Curious, not nosy. Oh my gosh, they have 17 cars in their driveway. What are they doing over there? Are they having a party? Not nosy. Curious says, wow, I noticed last month around the same time they had a whole group of people at their house. I wonder, is this some kind of cultural celebration or, what's going on? Maybe their family's getting together. What? Curious. Empathetic. Empathy says, I almost can feel what this person might have gone through. Sympathy is, wow, that's sad. That sucks for them. Wish them the best. You don't hate a person or you're not wanting bad things to happen, but it doesn't really affect you like empathy. I became very empathetic during some travel to Dominican Republic, to in particular indigenous community. I could almost feel like, oh, wow, what if Americans flipped and we lived this life where I am right here, right now? How would that feel for me? And it helps you to want to learn more about others. See, that's humility. Competence is, oh, well, I'm going to go over here to DR and because, I know about Latin America because I took the test. I know to, get my bug spray out, and I know to wear these kind of clothes, and I know to siesta starts at noon, and I know to, not bother them while they're working. And I know, okay, but what do I really know about the arts of that country and the intellectual achievements? And why did I have to seek so hard to find out about the women who were having all of these efforts to improve the environment in Latin America? And so just that curiosity because of the empathy. Learn about the important people in someone's culture, the artists, the musicians, the dancers, the philosophers, the writer, not just the food or the holidays. Learning about people. And I'm going to challenge everyone to note that in America, we learn white American history. Well, there's more to America than that. And so it's up to us as individuals to dig deep and learn about the other histories in our country. America is a multitude, not just the majority, but a multitude of people and people groups. Learn to pronounce their names. What does that mean? That means when someone tells you their name is Aquanetta, you don't say Aquanone. What is that? Aquanetta, girl, I'm just gonna call you Aqua. No, you're gonna call me what I said my name is. It's Aquanetta. And you can take the time to care about me as a human, because see, people's names mean something. And pronounce my name correctly. Share your culture so people from other cultures don't think they are the only ones who are different. Sometimes you go places, and because of how I lived and the work that I've done personally and my career choice, and others may know this, especially those in certain sciences or medical professions, if there's not a lot of diversity of ethnic groups represented, you may be the only person of color or gender or another social group in the room. You might be. So sometimes it gets lonely to feel a little different. Well, if you're culturally humble, you might help me with that. Not being, go find the Black girl and talk to her, but being sincere and empathetic. Talk about the isms and believe them when they speak about their experiences. It's very easy to say, wow, that's weird. I've never seen that happen. Well, that doesn't mean it didn't happen. Where do you live? You live in one place, one region. You're how old? You haven't seen the whole world. It's very important as a humble person to believe if they're saying this happened to me, this happened to me. Well, I don't have proof of that. That's their experience. You're not their lawyer. You don't need to have proof of anything. Because if it was something that you agreed with, you wouldn't want proof of it. If it was something that you stood firmly on, you would be an ally. You'd instantly support them. You wouldn't need proof then. You're not their attorney. You don't need proof. Be prepared when someone brings up your ethnicity and what it means to them. Listen non-defensively. I had a conversation with a group of Black women, and they were very angry. And I'm tired of people asking me all these questions, and I'm sick of that. Look it up, Google it, do this, do that. I said, well, how are they going to learn? And I was attacked heavily for that. I got strong shoulders, so I was able to bear the pain. But I meant what I said, and no one could answer me. How are they going to learn, whoever they is? If it's a man asking a question about females, if it's a standing up, able-bodied person asking someone maybe in a wheelchair or walking with AIDS, how is anyone going to learn if we're all so defensive and no one can ask us anything? Take a minute and breathe. Because I know some of you are saying, well, I'm sick of it. They're asking me all the time. You may be the only person they know. I had to understand that. Sadly, I'm the only Black person you know, really, right? Well, I will help you. And guess what? You're going to help me learn too. Because guess what? I was raised in white America. It's a whole lot of stuff I don't know about the intellectual achievements of Black people. So let's learn together. Yeah. Quit being so defensive. And if you are tired Because some people of color and able differently, LGBTQ, people in poverty, like folks are tired. Because now it's coming out that everybody wants to learn, right? Say it in a way that's, you know what? Today's not a good day. Can you just text me your questions and maybe we can get together in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about it. But I appreciate you asking and you really wanting to know. Yeah. And then you on the other end, don't be all mad. Like, I was just asking a question. How am I going to learn if nobody wants to teach me? Well, understand, again, be empathetic to how the person getting the question may feel. Approach improving your cultural competence with a beginner's mind. You don't know everything. And show interest and appreciation and get this, guys, respect for other cultures. Respect. If you see a Latinx person getting an achievement, what makes you say, oh, well, that's no big deal. So what? You're not showing any respect for that culture or that person. Like, appreciate the fact that, oh, wow, eventually it won't matter. See, right now we have a lot of symbolism in the United States because we don't have so much diversity of thought and inclusivity of different ethnic groups and social groups. So when something happens, it's this big celebration, like, oh, wow, man, a Black man did this, a Black woman did this, an LGBTQ person did this. And so it's all this symbolism because we haven't normalized that we're all humans. We're all still accepting social constructs that exist. Why? Because humans say they exist. So until all of it gets off the application, the gender, the age, well, the age got taken off with ageism, marital status got taken off. Things are slowly getting taken off. Ethnic groups, till all of it gets taken off and it just says name. And then we're able to view the name without implicit bias kicking in because of name bias. John will always, not always, but oftentimes gets chosen. I believe it's about 87% of the time, if I'm correct on my memory, that John gets chosen over Juan on an application. That's implicit bias. So as the recruiters are learning more about themselves and learning to pay attention to that, and then we normalize that names are just names and they may have a representation of an ethnic group, but it's okay. It's okay to pick that application. It's okay. It's okay. So as we get rid of this symbolism and just start to normalize humanity, and we become more humble, things will not seem so like in your face. But until then, you show interest, appreciation, and respect for those cultures as they're receiving achievement. Because the more they're receiving the achievement, the more it's seen, the more it becomes normalized. So how do we bust biases, things that stop us from being culturally humble? Counter stereotyping. So like all those stereotypes you all put in the chat in place of culture, get rid of that. So at Christmas, I made one of my favorite breakfasts, and I posted it, and I said, I posted on social media, and I said, based upon this breakfast, what culture would you say that I'm from? If without knowing me. And I had corned beef hash with eggs over easy. I had bagels and lox with capers, red onions. I had something else. And then we had bacon and eggs and stuff like that. I had bagels, cream cheese. And someone said, is this a Jewish breakfast? I said, no, it's my breakfast. Don't stereotype me and say, oh, she's having some bacon and fried eggs and pancakes just because I'm a American. Looking at that person when you see them and your brain says, oh, that's a Black boy in a hoodie, and your brain says danger, danger, and you say, oh, well, what if he's just some good kid walking down the street and the hoodie is comfort? Wow, what if he's kind of sad and he just really doesn't want to be seen? Or that woman in the board meeting who speaks up and you want to call her a name, who does she think she is? And you say, wow, her thoughts are actually quite engaging. Or the person who comes in for the interview in their automotive vehicle of transportation of how they get around, and instead of saying, oh my gosh, are we going to be able to utilize them, or how they going to get to the meetings, and do we have to do that, you say, oh, okay, this is an opportunity to explore how we increase our diversity and inclusivity and make it comfortable for this candidate to possibly work here. Empathy, compassion, that judgment-free zone. And I say a gut check because you know when it comes up. I know when it comes up. I know when I get in my way and like, oh, well, this person, Marla, why are you thinking like that? You don't know them. Back up, you don't know them. See, in these sessions, I don't mind talking about me because I do know me. Know thyself and do no harm. So as soon as I feel that, I have to gut check myself. Where did that come from? Why are you talking like that? Oh, you still got some of that in you. And I do. We all do. We're human. But you got to check it. And Dr. Caroline Leaf says, the day we start to uncategorize, that's that stereotyping, and the day we start to and uncategorize and group is the day we start to heal our brains. Our brains need to be retrained so that we can be open to true culture, the arts, the humanities, the intellectual achievements and activity, literature, music, painting, philosophy of people's true culture. And then we can be humble to learn more, and to not have this arrogance of, I know, and I know what they need. Did you ask them? Did you invite them to the table? The decision makers on the phone, on the call, on the screen. I don't even know what to say nowadays. Did you invite someone to the table? Did you go into the community of poverty and say, hey, who's your leader? Don't choose them, ask them, who's your leader? We want that person to represent your voice, and you're invited to the table. We can't make decisions about you if we don't know you or know what you need. Did you ask at the Department of Disabilities or at Voc Rehab, how many qualified people do you have for this particular position? Did you go there? Because if you don't go there and ask, you might not get the diversity of abled and disabled bodied people in the room. I never thought about it. Now you thought about it. Now you know, go do something. Know thyself and do no harm. Cultural humility suggests remaining humble and aware of one's deficient knowledge of other cultures. Cultural humility suggests remaining humble and aware of one's deficient knowledge of other cultures. Cultural humility also requires us to be critical of our own cultural biases. And with that, I'm going to ask, are there any questions? We have 7 minutes left. It's very important to me that you all, I think Lisa has to unmute. Someone, Katie, raised her hand, or if you can put it in the Q&A section. I think there's a Q&A section. Here it is.
Hi, I just wanted to say I thought this was fantastic. And it was awesome to actually unlearn everything that we're taught in social work school. I went to Fordham School. Yeah, no, it's about time. I went to Fordham in New York, and we were taught, social justice. We were taught cultural competency. And people would look at us like we were crazy, that I'm supposed to know every single culture that's out there. And when I came to Pennsylvania, the organization I work for teaches cultural humility. And for me, it was so refreshing because I only know my experience as a white woman whose family's been in this country for 80 years. I only know my Italian and Czechoslovakian heritage. How are you not going to know unless you ask? And people were taken aback, and I said, in social work school, how do you expect me to know about Ecuadorian culture? How do you expect me to know about Puerto Rican culture and the subgroups and different groups? How do you expect me to know about poverty? How do you expect me to know what it's like to be really rich? People assumed because I was white that I knew what it was like to be really rich. I said to them, I can tell you what it's like to be a middle-class kid from New York who's getting a degree. And it's nice to see the tides are changing. And it's better to ask than assume.
Yes.
And that's all I wanted to say. I mean, this is unlearning everything that we're taught in social work school and taught to pass the boards. So I just wanted to thank you for this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your input.
Marla, can I go ahead and launch we're starting to lose.
Please.
Also, can I launch the post test? And people, I think.
Yes, it's launched. They're taking it, Lisa. You guys, please take the post test. Please, we need this information.
So I believe, allowed everyone to the capacity to ask questions. So I don't know that there's a good way of doing it, but.
I got it. I can see them right here. Okay. How do you share with others that there are so many subcultures within each culture? Every Black male has his own experience as a Black man. How you do that, Mr. Perry, is you tell them, I don't know that person's experience. I can say what media puts out is probably not the general, because they're only going to put out certain things. And that, again, that's a whole nother bias training. But my experience is blah, blah, blah. Know thyself. Let people know I'm speaking for me. And I hope that's helpful. Same thing for all cultures. Yes, for all cultures. Again, and make sure you're using good language. Tell people, hey, here's a stereotype I know that I actually, I've experienced, and I actually perpetuated. This is the stereotype, but our culture is pretty different from that, and I'm still learning. I know that's what I do about myself is specifically, because people say, well, what do Black folks do? This, and that. And I'm like, stereotypes say this and this. Some of those I perpetuate, some of them I don't. I grew up in white America, so I don't do everything so-called Black folks do. People laugh because my husband scuba dives and jumped out of a plane. They're like, oh my God, is he Black? Did you marry a white man? Like, yeah, he's Black.
Okay.
I think they're all done, the polls.
That's great. So Marla, thank you so much. We are at just at the hour. And so I don't know, I want to honor your time. So if
I'm fine.
Okay. So I think we're going to probably start losing people, and I just want to make sure that everyone knows that there will be an evaluation that I will send out the link to probably in the next 15 minutes. So please complete the evaluation. We do provide an incentive. So of the people who complete the evaluation by 5 o'clock, you have a chance to win a $25 grocery gift card. So we really feel very strongly that we want your evaluations. I will also send out certificates later today, and the YouTube, we will upload the recording to our YouTube channel, and I will send out that link to all of you as well. So with that, if there are other questions, we have a couple of minutes.
I just answered what I saw in the chat from Mr. Perry. I hope that was helpful. And I wanted to say that if you live in the Michiana area, or if you do want to come visit, that you can come on May 14th at 4 p.m. MHAM is sponsoring a mental health awareness fair outdoors, outside, COVID-safe environment to get our community together, because May is the month of mental health awareness nationally. And it's going to be a great, great, great program. It's free to those who come, but we are taking sponsorships for those who want to help us to put this on for the community. So you could go to our website and find how to donate or just attend, get the information to attend. Someone raised their hand. I saw it. 2 participants raised their hands. NIAP South Bend will be there. Great. NIAP is a wonderful foster care agency that always sponsors mental health initiatives.